Start seeing some of the price pressures globally and here in South Africa, I'm sure, coming down. Let's move on because an interesting development taking place just in the past week. And in fact, what a difference a week in politics can make. So you'll remember around this time last week, President Cyril Ramaphosa was over in the UK doing a state visit over there, cementing new partnerships with the UK. But fast forward a week later now, the president's political future does hang in the balance, just following a report on potential misconduct having been conducted by the president. And there's talks around impeachment at this present moment in time. So what then does that mean for the potential of UK and South Africa trade relations and even political relations going forward? We do have Leon Ayo, who is the president of the British Business Chamber of Southern Africa, joining us for this conversation. Leon, thanks so much for your time. I know that this is not what you came here to talk about, but I think it would be remiss of us not to reflect on the events that have transpired in the past 24 hours and the events that have followed the president's state visit to the UK just last week. Just a broad comment on what do you think about what we have learned in the past 24 hours and whether it does change the picture that was painted for the UK government and South Africa at the president's state visit to the UK last week. Does it change that picture at all?
I don't think it does, Fifi, and good afternoon. And a week certainly is a long time in politics, but I think the UK, regardless of the president, the political party, is South Africa's biggest trading partner on the continent, and it is our government's goal to turbocharge that growth in investment, both in infrastructure but also in economic growth. And I represent British businesses on the continent and in the UK looking to invest, and we are apolitical when it comes to the colour of any government in terms of a party.
Yeah, but political instability, I'm sure, is not something that any company wants to navigate in. And I'm just wondering, the companies that you do represent, have they made contact with you? Are you guys just talking about what has happened in the past 24 hours and what an impeachment will mean for future relations, most certainly in the short to medium term?
Well, we knew the ANC elective conference was coming, and I think businesses has to be aware of the macroeconomic context in which it operates. And some of the key things coming out of the businesses I travel with were, what is limiting growth? What could we overcome to increase growth? And energy and security are key, as is political stability and political security. But being an Englishman and having navigated Brexit, been in the UK for the last few months where we've changed Prime Minister 4 times, business is used to dealing with uncertainty.
I give it to you, particularly with what the UK has endured in the past year. Yeah, I'll give you that score. All right, so just your key takeaways then from the state visit by the South African government to the UK as it does pertain to current and future business relations between the two parties.
And like you say, business and the economy doesn't exist in a vacuum. We're aware of what's going on. But I think globally, we've navigated the global financial crisis, we've navigated Brexit, we've had to deal with the pandemic. So this is more back to normal, just dealing with politics as opposed to other seismic world events. The war in Russia and Ukraine is having a huge impact on British companies and global supply chains. So yes, we do have to deal with the environment which we operate. But it was great to be with buoyant, vibrant South African business leaders coming to the UK to essentially grow their businesses and talking to UK investors that are looking to South Africa as a destination for not just investment, but a big market to access, but also a massive talent pool to access.
The companies that you represent, I mean, what are they saying about investing in South Africa's economy? I mean, next year's around the corner. Maybe if you can just talk to us about their investment plans there. I mean, how much we're looking at potentially and where in the economy they're looking to do more business.
Yeah. So particularly in the areas of infrastructure, the UK's investors committed to 5.37 billion. I think infrastructure is an opportunity in terms of uplifting the social fabric of society. It contributes to safety, it contributes to healthcare, to education. And I actually led a delegation a month ago with Infrastructure South Africa, where we're sharing British expertise in infrastructure projects. So on the back of that delegation, we've now come back with a presidential delegation to look at British companies that can come and support and partner to improve the infrastructure here in South Africa. I think also in the areas of healthcare, science and education, there's a lot of partnership. The UK currently has 600,000 overseas students here in our universities, and we want to double that, and we'd like many of those places to go to South Africans. We currently sponsor 300 achieving scholars a year. We could increase that, and we believe education is really critical to turbocharging the talent in the continent, which will drive economic growth.
And energy, I mean, I think this is also a potential area of commonality that we have right now. You guys are facing power cuts just as a result of what is happening with the Russia-Ukraine war. We've got a whole lot to teach you about that if you want to share lessons. But what are you guys saying about the opportunities, or companies saying about the opportunities to invest in the energy space, particularly given the fact that regulation has made it a lot more accommodating, particularly for independent power producers?
Yeah. I must say that was one of the main topics we discussed. And again, we're preparing for our own load shedding in the UK this winter, and you South Africans can teach us a great deal about resilience. But with the liberalisation of the legislation, there are companies such as Globalec and Chamber Member Mitochondria that are part of the Just Energy Transition Partnership, which means with that liberalisation, we can utilise renewable energies and ensure we've got more stability on the grid. Because again, one of the barriers to investment and reasons people hesitate is the uncertainty around the power situation in South Africa. And that is an issue that was unavoidable.
Yeah. No, we're not so resilient, just to your point. I mean, our economy hasn't done the best as a result of it, and other metrics, jobs as well, have been impacted by it. But so the companies that you represent are looking through the political noise presently right now in the country. You are discussing areas of concerns and seeing where you can strengthen ties in an area that is risky for anyone's growth, and that is energy. But what are some of the other overarching concerns that companies, British companies, have in doing business in South Africa? And I'm just wondering whether concerns around empowerment legislation and transformation and the way that is being rolled out right now features on that list in any way at all.
Specifically, it doesn't, but there are key themes that have been coming up, and they're not new themes. Again, I talk about energy, I talk about physical security and criminality. That is a concern for multinationals looking to invest and deploy their people there. But also political and policy security is, of course, important. So with the liberalisation of some of the regulations around power, but some of the other policies, if we have that policy surety, we will increase that investment flow into the country. And the fact that we were able to communicate directly with the president and directly with the president's team, we find that encouraging. We've set up something called the UK South Africa Investment Task Force, where we're meeting regularly with business leaders in South Africa and the UK, the President's Office and the British High Commission here in South Africa to address these concerns. And we believe these challenges are there. They're not going away quickly, but we're at least being listened to, and we did feel heard in these sessions.
So if we believe the view that South Africa remains the gateway to the rest of the continent, I mean, some question it lately, just given some of our shortcomings, particularly as it does relate to logistics and what's happening at the ports. If we hold on to that view, what are some of the companies that you are that are under the chamber saying about their plans of South Africa and beyond? And to what degree does maybe one of the policy instruments right now that is trying to get a whole lot more activity and business being done on the continent, the free trade area deal, what are they saying about that, and how impactful are they finding it so far?
I think just like the UK discovered its lack of energy resilience after the Ukraine-Russian war, which was a human tragedy as well as an economic tragedy, South Africa can't be complacent about being the gateway to Africa. Traveled across 12 African countries this year. All are advertising themselves as destination of inward investments, and they are making it easier to invest and come into the country. That said, South Africa still has by far the most sophisticated infrastructure. It is a very attractive place for people to come to, and we've got a great pool of talent. Because when companies are looking to invest, they're looking at their physical security, their economic security, and then that's their ability to actually deploy the required talent. So another subject that's come up is the visa system, and that's from a UK side and from an SA side. We need to speed up visas because that stops us getting the talent in the right places. I know that's been a challenge for South Africans coming to the UK as well. So in answer to your question, South Africa still is probably the #1 spot as an entry point into the continent, but cannot be complacent, because if we still see the continuing deterioration of our ports and infrastructure, other countries might overtake us. And that's why the infrastructure partnership of 5.37 billion investment is really important, so we can deploy that grow the infrastructure, grow the economy.
Yeah, yeah. Parting shot, though, last question. So we've spoken mostly about what British companies are planning to do in this country, by extension also the rest of the continent. You did highlight it earlier on in terms of the areas of opportunities for South African companies, mainly the people in terms of education and skills. But what are the opportunities for African companies coming to the UK? Where are you looking to do more business with them in your own land?
So one of the biggest challenges we've got in the UK at the moment is we have a surplus of 3 million jobs, and we really need the talent. So in the post-Brexit environment, we've been looking to the Commonwealth and to Africa to attract skilled workers, and we think we can make that more efficient and bring more talent. One of the opportunities for South Africa, because of our cultural links, our time zone, our common languages, the opportunity to virtually and digitally deploy South African talent to UK companies. So with companies such as Goodbye Boring, based in Quebec and also in Cape Town, have opened a small office in London, whereby they've got a team of programmers that can be working for UK clients whilst contributing to the fiscus in South Africa and growing their skills. So that's something as a chamber we'd like to push, give the UK companies that are looking for talent access to South Africans. Should they not wish to relocate, they can deploy virtually and digitally. And I think that would be a quick win which we could achieve. Beyond that, as you said, energy is key, Just Energy Transition Partnership, and the infrastructure opportunity. We need to address those quickly. Otherwise, South Africa might lose its position as the most favourable destination for investment on the continent.
All right. Leon, thanks so much for your time. We'll leave it there. Leon Ayo, President of the British Chamber of Business in Southern Africa. So let's shift on and turning the focus now to South Africa's trade relations.